Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I wanted to share with you my autumn weave spread. This is one of my favorite spreads to work with around the autumn equinox, but honestly, it works great anytime during the fall months. So today I'll be using the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck as my primary deck for this spread, and the reason is because it's kind of inspired by this deck. So in this deck, we have kind of some tools, we have the 4 seasons, and I tend to keep my deck divided up in this way. So we have our seasonal cards, we have some animal cards here, we have some guardian cards, which are like the angels. We have some kind of tools type of things. I kind of put basically anything else, tools, symbols, what have you in this secondary category. And then we have the ancestors. So this deck kind of has a little structure within it. And when I was getting to know this deck and working with this deck, one of the things that I did was kind of develop a spread around this idea. And so the prompts or the positions in this spread are kind of inspired a little bit by this particular deck. So it seemed only appropriate to use this deck when showing you how I go about my autumn weave spread. However, you can use any oracle or tarot deck to do this spread. You definitely do not have to have this particular deck for it. Now I'm going to actually show you 3 different versions of this spread. I'm going to start with a simplified version of this particular spread, which is only using this particular oracle deck or any single deck, right? Any single tarot or oracle. And then I'm going to show you a kind of modified version where we're going to add in some tarot. So we're going to add in a second deck basically. And then we're going to do a sort of advanced or third version where we're going to really layer up, and that's where kind of the idea of the weave comes in. And you'll see kind of how that is reflected when we get to that point. But I did kind of just want to share the 3 different versions of this so that you can kind of like start with the simplified version if you're kind of new to working with cards or working with spreads, and layer on as you feel comfortable to do so. So let's go ahead and jump into the basic or simplified version, just using our base 5 positions for the autumn wave spread. So for our first position is the season, and that's what to focus on this season. Now again, remember, we're starting with our really basic simplified version of this spread, and then we're going to build upon it from there. So what I do is I go through here and I pick out the autumn card. I almost pulled the summer card. Here we have the autumn card, and the key phrase is release the old and reset. So that is the focus for the season. Now you can also just pull a tarot card, right? If you wanted to just use this as a basic tarot reading, you could totally do that too. So if you were doing this just working with a single tarot deck, then you could also look at this as your position 1, season, what to focus on this season, and we have the Earth Mother here. So this works either way. We're basically just using the 5 basic prompts, and we're going to lay out a basic spread, and then we're going to continue to build upon that as we deepen or weave the additional layers into this spread. So for our first prompt, we have season. So our energy is release the old and reset. That's what we need to be focusing on this autumn. So the second position is the ancestor, and this is the position of lessons from the past. So again, working on our simplified version, what we're gonna do is kind of just shuffle up. I just have the ancestor cards here from this deck, and I'm just going to kind of give them a little shuffle, and then we will pull a card to see what our ancestor has to say, what our lesson from the past is going to be. So our ancestor is the warrior, and the lesson is be fearless and stand strong. So that is our second position. So our third position is our angel or our guardian, and this is guidance for the future. So again, I have the guardian or the angel cards pulled out of this particular oracle deck, and I'm just going to give them a little shuffle, and then we'll pull a guardian for guidance for our future. So guidance for this season. And when we're looking at future, we're just looking at the autumn season. We're not looking at 20 years from now. So go ahead and pull us guardian, and we have the water guardian. So we have connect with your emotions. So position number 4 is our animal, and this is the energy to support you. And again, I've just pulled out the few little animal cards that there are in this deck. You could, of course, also pull in any sort of animal deck, and I'll kind of show you how I do that here at the end. So we're just gonna pull one, and our animal is the snake for shed old skin. Well, that's quite appropriate, isn't it? When we're looking at releasing the old and resting. Our final position, position 5, is our symbol, which is a tool to assist you. And for this, I've pulled out pretty much all the other cards, our symbols and tools. And again, it's just a couple of cards, so I'm just gonna give them a little bit of a shuffle here. And we're gonna pull one out. And we have the mountains for stand your ground. I mean, that works quite well with pulling in our warrior energy. So that's our 5 basic positions. We have our season with what to focus on this season. We have our ancestor offering us lessons from the past. We have our angel or our guardian for guidance for the future. We have our animal energy to support us, and our symbol, which is a tool to assist us. And so that is a basic 5-card spread, and you could definitely, you know, dive into the little guidebook if you were using this particular oracle deck or another one. You could look up each of the cards to see what the message is, and that would definitely give you your message for this upcoming season. Now, why I call this the weave spread is because what I like to do is start layering in with additional decks. So this becomes kind of the next layer of this particular spread, where we're weaving in some additional energy. So we have our base energies here provided by the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. Again, if you wanted to do just this 5-card reading with any deck, you could certainly do that as well. But I think it works beautiful for this particular spread and this particular layout. So next, I would basically expand upon each of these with a tarot card. So that's going to give me more information, a deeper level to my reading. So really expanding upon what each of these positions and each of these tools and archetypes are going to be offering me this particular season. So I've got my Green Witch Tarot here. You can, again, use any deck you'd want for this. So I'm going to look again at our position 1, what to focus on this season. We're focusing on releasing the old and resting. So what is it that I need to release? And here we have the Page of Pentacles. You know, if you have much more table space, you can, of course, really spread all this out into a really nice, beautiful spread. Just to simplify things, I'm just going to kind of stack things up here so that we don't get things too all over the place. So this is telling me, what do I need to release in the autumn? I've got the Page of Pentacles. So that is the energy that I need to release this autumn. And I can look at what lesson is Warrior going to teach me in terms of being fearless and standing strong. And we have the 4 of Chalices. And then we have our guidance moving forward. So what is our water guardian going to teach us in terms of connecting with our emotions? And we have the 8 of Pentacles here. Again, looking at the animal energy, we have the snake with the shedding old skin. So what are we going to be shedding? And we have the 6 of Chalices. And then our tool to assist us, we have the mountains with standing our ground. And where do we need to stand our ground? We have the 9 of Pentacles. So you can see here that each of the oracle cards not only kind of creates the position for the spread, but also creates the base message, because if I had pulled a different ancestor or a different guardian or a different tool or a different animal, then I would of course be having a different conversation between the oracle deck and the tarot deck. Hopefully that is making some sense. So now we've added tarot into our reading. We've kind of added that additional layer where we've kind of dive in a little bit deeper into each of these messages. Now we can also take that and go even further, and we can have another oracle deck here. So we kind of know what we're going to do. We kind of know where we need to focus on, and then we can use an oracle deck. And for this, I'm going to be using the Botanical Inspirations Oracle. to give us kind of a takeaway message for each of these positions. So we know what we need to be focusing on. We've gone a little bit deeper into what that is and where we need to look for that in our lives. And then we can use the oracle cards to kind of help us understand what's going to come out of that work. So you can use any oracle deck for this. I do tend to like decks that have a little bit more of a sort of affirmative message, so to speak. It kind of helps me to look at finding the benefits that's going to come out of this work, right? So here we have autumn with we're releasing the old and resting. What we're releasing is that Page of Pentacles, and what's going to come out of that work is intelligence and mental beauty. And then for our ancestor, we have our rainbows and messages. Again, the guidebook for this particular deck is really wonderful. I'll do a little reading from it here in a moment. So what's going to come out of our work here with the Water Guardian, we have delicate fleeting beauty. What's going to come out of our work with the Snake, we have strength of character and moral integrity. That's a good one. And what's going to come out of our work with the Mountain, we have elegance and patience. So now we can take a look at this and we could really dive into each of these cards and what each of these positions means. So we're kind of looking at each position as almost a spread in itself for the moment. So let's take a look at autumn. So we're releasing this old, and you can see here how this particular spread basically makes my traditional kind of 3-card spread, right? Where we have a focal point in the middle and we have the expanded message around it. So we're looking at releasing the old during autumn, and we're going to be releasing that Page of Pentacles energy. So maybe we've already learned the lessons, right? It's time to move out of study and into actual application. And what's going to come out of that is the intelligence and mental beauty. And because one of the keys for working with this deck for me is the messages in the guidebook, I want to go ahead and just jump into that real quick. So the inspirational message says, keep your feet firmly planted on the ground with the foundation of knowledge. Expand your mind with new experiences and your spirits will soar to new heights. How perfect is that for this little 3-card reading that we have here? We have that idea of soaring to new heights with the crow here on the autumn card, and we're going to release that knowledge that we've gained here in this Page of Pentacle energy, and we're going to actually put it into practice, right? So this is telling me that it's time to kind of get out of that study mode and get into the actual doing of things. Kind of time to move from the page into the night, so to speak. And so you can see how each one of these can be read as a 3-card reading. So that was position 1. So let's look at position 2 here. We had the Warrior, right? For our ancestor, for lessons from the past. We had our 4 of Chalices and our rainbows and messages. So you can see here that the lesson that we have learned, because remember, we're in a kind of a past position here. So the lesson we have learned is this 4 of Chalices energy, and we need to be fearless and stand strong as we're kind of moving away from that lesson into what we're doing moving forward. And we're going to pay attention to the rainbows and the messages that we're seeing. Again, if I jumped into here, we would probably get even more insight into that particular card. But here is our Angel, where we have our guidance for the future with our 8 of Pentacles and our delicate fleeting beauty. We had our animal energy with the Snake and the 6 of Chalices and the strength and character of moral integrity. And finally, our tool to assist us with the Mountains, our 9 of Pentacles, and our elegance and patience. So you can see that each one of these positions, when we expand upon it, really gets into this beautiful multi-layered reading that we can really dive deep into. And you can take them one at a time, as I've done here, or you can, do the whole thing at once and then dive into each one individually. It is also helpful to go ahead and look at not only each position as kind of a little mini 3-card reading when you're doing this sort of expanded version, but of course to include the entire reading as a whole. So now that we've kind of got a sense of how the weave spread works, let me show you kind of a really detailed, multi-layered version of this spread. So we're gonna pull out our autumn energy again, because that's where we're headed into, and that's what I'm working with. So let's pull another ancestor here. We've got the Wise One. We're going to pull another Angel. We've got the Heart Guardian. I'm going to spread these way out this time because I'm going to show you where this starts getting really, really layered. So now we've got, let's pull an animal. So we've got the eagle and our tools. And we've got the broken arrow. So I've got each of my 5 positions here represented through each of the cards. And of course, these oracle cards also have a message in and of themselves, right? So now what I'm gonna do is actually use each of these cards and their positions to create a 3-card reading. So I'm gonna pull a card on either side of each of these cards using my tarot deck. And so this is going to, I've got them kind of layered up just so that we can make use of the space that we have here. But you can see if I fan these all out a little bit more, how I've got kind of, again, my typical 3-card reading. Sorry, it's catching my lights. Let's kind of try to bend that back a little bit. We've got kind of my typical 3-card reading here where we've got my oracle in the center and my 2 tarot cards on either side to really expand upon that message. So now I can really dive into each of these positions almost as being little mini readings in of themselves. So this would be my reading for my 3-card reading for this season. This would be my 3-card reading from Ancestor for lessons from the past. This would be my 3-card reading from the Guardian for guidance for my future. This would be my 3-card reading from the Animal for what can support me. And then we have the 3-card reading from the Symbol and the tools that can assist me. So I've still got one basic reading here, right? But I've dived deep into each of the positions individually. And this is where we get that kind of weave layer effect. And of course, I can continue to add to that by adding again my oracle cards. So again, what's going to come out of this work? And I can add that in for each of these positions. So now you can see I've got basically a 4-card reading for each position, and you can keep expanding upon these as much as you want to. But let's take a look at the autumn one again, just so that we can kind of have an idea of what this looks like in each position. And of course, you know, once we're looking at each of these in their position, then we would want to read them as a reading altogether. But in looking at these in this position, we have the autumn. So what are we focusing on this season? Again, we're focusing on that releasing the old and rest. So that's our focal point. And it's surrounded by Death or Lord of Shadows in this particular deck and the 7 of Wands. So this is going to give me even more information about what it is that I need to focus on releasing this particular season. And then we have our Apple Blossom here with kind of what's going to come out of that particular work. Now you could, of course, dive deeper. You could do as many cards for each of these prompts as you wanted. And that's kind of the whole idea of this sort of weave spread, is that we've got 5 basic positions and it can be as basic as you want it to, or you can dive deep into each of these positions and really create this huge multi-layered reading. It allows you to work with it in a way that you feel comfortable with. And so that's one of the things that I really love about this reading. Sometimes I do it just as using my oracle deck and I don't expand on it further. Sometimes I will, dive deeper into the 3-card or 4-card or however many cards I feel like I need to understand each position. Let's take a look at this spread in case you want to just use the positions as a single 5-card spread, just using one tarot deck, which is totally doable. You have your what to focus on this season. So we have the Wild Hunt or the Tower. We have our lesson from the past with the Holly King or the Hermit. We have our guidance for the future with the 5 of Athmes. We have our energy to support us with the 10, and our tool to assist us with the Ace of Chalices. So you can see how you can still do this with as a basic 5-card reading, just using a single tarot deck, and that works quite beautifully as well. And of course, if you want to get really creative with this spread, you could also use decks that embody the energy of the position. So for our first position for season with what to focus on, I could pull a card from the Modern Spellcasters Tarot, because for me, that definitely feels like a deck that taps into the seasonal energy of autumn. For position 2, for Ancestor, for lessons from the past, you could pull a card from a deck that feels connected to ancestor energy for you. Here I have a card from the Universal Celtic Tarot. For card position 3, you could pull a card from a deck that feels like it has a angelic or guardian energy. And here I've pulled one from the Tarot of a Hidden Realm. I feel like that has a little bit of kind of Fey guardian type of energy. For your position 4, for your animal and energy to support you, you could pull an actual animal card from an oracle deck or a tarot that features animals. So here we have the squirrel spirit from the Spirit Animal Oracle. And then for position 5, for your symbol or your tool to assist you, you could just pull from any oracle deck that felt like it resonated with that kind of energy. And here we have creativity. So one of the things that I really love about this particular spread is it can be as simple as a 5-card reading, just going over what you need to focus on, your lessons from the past, your guidance for the future, what you need to support you, and what you need to assist you. It can be as simple as that. Or you can layer and layer and layer to dive deeper into each position, kind of turning each position into a reading in and of itself, and then bringing it all together into one big reading that really dives deep into what you need to be working on and cultivating this particular season. Now, I do call this my autumn weave spread because this to me definitely is something that I tend to do during the autumn, but you could use this weave technique on any tarot spread. So you can take any basic spread with positions and use this method of layering up multiple oracle decks, tarot decks, whatever it is that you feel that will help you to get to the root of the information that you need. And that's really what this particular spread is kind of geared for. It is about diving deep into each of these energies to see what we need to learn and to grow, what we need to tap into, what can help us moving forward, what can help us really dive deep into each of these energies and positions that we can cultivate all of this information into our own personal growth and understanding, which is really what kind of the key to this particular reading is. It's all about diving deep into what it is that you need to work on and to grow and to manifest over the coming season to basically be a better you, right? Because that is kind of the end result of all of my spreads that I do. I'm always looking to be the best version of myself, and that is what I use tarot for, and that is what the majority of my spreads are geared towards. So I hope you enjoyed this look at my autumn weave spread. Remember that when it comes to layering spreads up like this, it really can be as simple as a 5-card reading if that's really all that you are comfortable with or really all that you need right in this moment. Or you can dive deep into each of the positions, really focus in on diving down through the layers and really getting at the heart of what's going on, getting the most information you can out of each particular position. So I would love to know your thoughts on this spread. If you get a chance to use it, be sure and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.